Hi, happy Tuesday, besties and bosses. I feel like I'm always trying to get us set up properly on the beginning of our live streams. How is everyone doing? Happy Tuesday. How was everyone's Halloween yesterday? Did you celebrate? Did you dress up? Did you not dress up? I don't have the height on this appropriately. I did not dress up. I did joke that I was Nala, my cat, and I wore an animal print sweater for all of my client calls, but we live in Brooklyn in New York City and we don't really get trick-or-treaters here. We're in a big kind of lofted building and there's a doorman, so you don't really get trick-or-treaters, so we didn't dress up this year. I was kind of on the not so dress up side. However, I did live vicariously through everyone else's costumes, and I had clients send me kid costume photos, and all my friends and cousins and everyone sent me kid photos, so we had a lot of fun with that. Want to know if you dressed up, what you were. Let me know if you had fun or if you were more like me and kind of lived vicariously through everyone else. I feel like, I'm sorry. I'm always like such a technical camera hot mess. I'm like, everything with Facebook and I have not been getting along recently, and I've been trying to figure out how to get this to work properly. So thank you all for bearing with me. I think we're kind of set up properly. Anyway, I'm so excited to have our conversation. I've got a couple announcements, and then we're going to talk about the 10-minute or less action step that brings in big results in your business. This is something I wonder if anyone can guess what it is. You might be able to guess if you know my work. I want to have a conversation around this, what this action step is, why it's so important, why this is something I really challenge my clients around so they can go from those phases where they feel like they're struggling, they don't know where clients are coming from, they don't know how to make money, they're telling me all the things aren't working, and how this kind of action really changes the game for them and really is the catalyst that blows up their business. This is the catalyst I've seen behind so many of my clients who have gone from, oh my gosh, it's so hard to book clients, to, oh my gosh, the floodgates have opened and it just feels like clients are pouring through the door. This is the action step that changes the game. Shari says, hi, co-working with you via live stream today. Yay, so happy to have you here. Thank you for co-working with us. I wonder if you can guess the action step. And hey, Marie, nice to see you here. So we're going to chat about that. I want to talk a little bit about why this specific kind of action, why action in general. We're going to talk about the mindset shift behind this, because I think that's a really important key to you in business for your results. I don't think we talk enough about in the online space, quite honestly, and it's maybe not as sexy, but I think it's really, really important and something I see across all of my clients. And we're also going to talk about why this is not massive action. I think massive action can have a place. That's a term coined by Tony Robbins, I believe. I think there can be a place for that, but I think particularly for this group, for the type of clients I attract, for the people in my space for the personality types I think are in this space, I find massive action can sometimes be quite sabotaging. We're going to talk a little bit about that and some of the sneaky ways massive action can actually keep you from the results you want to create in your business. Shari says celebration. No, but that's a great guess. Celebration is absolutely one of them. That's not what we're talking about today, but that is a really, really good guess. I appreciate you playing. Marie says being out there regularly, developing trust. These are all correct. So we're going to talk about the different kinds of action. These are all correct. It's not the one we're talking about today, but I'm loving the guesses. Selling, no, that is also one of the, well, that might fall under this. We talk a lot about sales actions. I'm loving these guesses. Well, the guesses keep coming. I'm going to share, what do we have? Two announcements. So one, if you are live, hi, leave a comment, say hi, leave an emoji. If you're watching the replay, you can do the same. We do a giveaway every week. This week, we are giving away one copy of my self-study course, Get Unstuck and Unlock Your Success. It's really lovely. It's all going through the most common mindset blocks I notice for entrepreneurs, creatives, and coaches. It identifies or helps you to identify what they are and gives you some tools to help you shift those. We are giving away one of these. We always give away something. Again, all you gotta do is comment if you already have the course or you don't want it if you win. Please still comment anyway. You can always give it away to someone else, but we'd like to thank you for being here and hanging with me. I always appreciate getting to have you here live and on the replay. I know many of you watch these on the replay. Then the other announcement, we have this month's free masterclass, Podcasting That Pays Off, my lessons, takeaways, and secrets for after 100 episodes in podcasting. I can't remember the title of my podcast, but after 100 episodes of podcasting that will really support you in podcasting or any form of marketing. This doesn't have to be specific to you if you don't have a podcast. We're using my podcast in 100 episodes as a lens, but really looking at some of those marketing lessons and really leveraging your marketing in a way that supports you for those conversions, for bringing in clients and cash, and how you can use that so you're not just spinning your wheels, creating a lot of content, but really leveraging that content to bring in results. So celebrating that 100th episode, but also have that masterclass in 2 weeks. The link to sign up is kimmargetsinger.com/podcasting-pays. There should also be, if you click the banner in the Facebook group, there should be a link to that. I believe we have that updated. If not, I will drop that link after our live stream and I can't say words, and make sure that that's in here. If you sign up, we're also giving a really fun bonus. We're giving a playbook with all 100 plus questions from every episode. So you have those as journaling prompts and some instructions on how to use those. So you can use them anytime you're stuck in your business or personal life as a journaling prompt to help get you into and tap into your unapologetic answers for those unapologetic results. And we are giving away 100K CEO mindset and strategy coaching session to someone who signs up and joins us. You don't even have to come live. You join and sign up for the masterclass. We're giving away one of those free coaching sessions, which is pretty darn spectacular. I think I've been fully booked for over 4 years and don't offer single sessions. It's a great way to get to work with me and have my eyes all over your business, your marketing, your content, your strategy, and your mindset so that you can have a strategy that pays off for you to bring in those clients and results. Hey, Kate, nice to have you here. Okay, those are all the announcements. Let's dive into our conversation. So to preface, we're talking about that action you can take in 10 minutes or less that's really going to exponentially drive the results in your business. Now, we talk about this a lot, and I'm just going to preface this for people who are new to my world. My coaching framework is clarity, mindset, strategy, and action. This is what I have seen over 6.5 years, thousands and thousands of coaching calls, booking out my own business, making multi-six figures as what goes into creating results. I don't care what result you show me in business. Behind it is clarity. You have to have that clarity piece. I think we miss that so often. That's where we have the misalignment. That's where we get misaligned action, which if you're taking action in the wrong direction, you might get somewhere, but are you getting where you want to go? The mindset, the strategy piece, and then the action, all of that. There are many kinds of action we can take, and I think sometimes we forget to talk about this in our space. I think right now there's like such a trend around manifesting, which I am all for. I love the woo. I love to manifest, and I think we forget even with manifesting how part of manifesting, the practical art of manifesting, is also taking action on the woo, on the energetic side of things. We've got consistent action. We've got aligned action, which is very, very important. We have got massive action. We've got all or nothing action. I mean, there's so many different kinds of action. And what I want to talk about today is a kind of action I've really been pushing my clients on. Pushing, maybe I should say pulling. I don't like to push people, but pulling my clients on. And it's been really fascinating to see how this is playing out in their business. And that is something I call 1% action, which I'm going to explain what this means. And the reason I want to talk about 1% action as opposed to something like massive action is I've really seen over the years how massive action and that really full force action can really cause a lot of, honestly, problems. I think massive action and I gave it a name in my notes. Let's see if I can even find my notes here. What was the other? Oh, all the things action is what I was calling it. I mean, these are made up terms I have. But I find a lot of times when we hear about action and the importance of action and how action precedes all results, which action does precede all results, right? Even if you win the lottery, you got to go take the action to buy the lottery ticket. Even if you're manifesting, I don't know what else you would manifest, a beautiful home, right? And you're still manifesting, you still have to take some action to find the home, to sign the contract, right? Even if that money is like landing into your inbox, even if you're manifesting checks into your inbox, you still have to take the action to go deposit that check, right? We still have to take action. What I find in our space, the pendulum tends to swing. And when we get into things like massive action, and this is not hating on Tony Robbins, I think his work is really smart. And I get where I think there is a place for massive action where that is just taking a whole lot of fucking action. Abso-fucking-lutely. There is a place, there is a time for that. However, what I find for most business owners and most of us, we're all wanting to create, yes, results, but we're wanting to create sustainable results, not a one-time result. And what I find is you can massive action yourself to a result, but then you don't know how to create that in any other way except for always taking massive action, right? You can do all the things action, but then you don't know how to create results without throwing spaghetti at the wall or getting yourself into that kind of hustle, grind, burnout state, right? And I find what happens is the pendulum tends to swing. So it's either massive action or then we think that's exhausting and it can be really sabotaging because then we swing to fuck this, I'm not doing anything action, right? Like, let me just like go into like super chill mode. And we really want to find that medium ground if we want to create sustainable results in business. The other big challenge I find with something like massive action or doing all the things action, you have to tell me if you feel this is true, y'all. Now on the replay, this is something I found for myself. I'm totally calling myself out here, but I think this sort of action, because I'm very, very good at taking action. Like I have action taking down almost to a fault in like, that's almost, like we talk about this a lot. Every strength everyone has, there's a shadow and a light side, right? One of my strengths is taking action. There are shadow sides to all of our strengths. One of the shadow sides to massive action or doing all the things action is I find this can be a very, very sneaky way to hide, to play small, to limit yourself, to really avoid the very things that actually drive results, right? I can take a fuck ton of action. I'm cursing a lot today. I don't know why. We had a lot of caffeine earlier, maybe. So excuse the French if you have kids around. Put the like earplugs on, earbuds on. But you can take a lot of action, right? I can action, and that can be a very convenient way to avoid the very few things that are gonna drive results. So I can post content and create all the content to do all the things, but I can avoid owning my work. I can avoid selling, which is, Shari had a great guess on the type of action here, right? I can avoid speaking my truth. I can avoid saying the thing that I think might upset someone or might confront someone or might be a bit repelling to someone, right? I can really water things down, but I can be doing all the things. That's massive action. And then I'm like, well, nothing's working. Why isn't anything working in my business? And part of the reason can be, sure, you're taking massive action, but you're not taking 1% action, which I'm going to explain a little bit more in a moment. Same with doing all the things action. I think this is pretty self-explanatory, but doing all the things action, this is another place where, yes, you're taking action, but this is where we tend to stop-start strategies or throw spaghetti at the wall or just try to do everything all at once. And this was me my whole first year in business. I've shared this so many times, but it's worth repeating here. I was so in a place of not being clear on what worked for me. That's actually not true. I knew what worked for me. I booked a client right out the gate. I started booking clients and making money very easily in my business. And then I think I stopped trusting that. I've shared how much of what I've had to do with my coach is almost unlearn the noise and everything I learned to do in our business space. I so didn't trust myself and thought I was missing something. I got into massive action and doing all the things action. I learned and consumed and started doing so much that what happened was I stopped doing the very few things that drove results in my business. I started doing a ton and working a ton, getting really frustrated then, right? Because the more I was doing that wasn't driving results and the more things I was doing and being consistent with that weren't bringing results, the more I also made myself wrong and thought like, oh my gosh, like that was a fluke that I got results before. There must be something wrong with me. I must not be doing things right. The more I was also diffusing, what's the word I'm looking for? Watering down the action I was taking, because yes, I was taking massive action, but I was doing so many things. Nothing really had the focus. Nothing was really being seen through until it was really well oiled and bringing in results. It was just a lot of things all over the place. And I'm sure everyone has probably had a phase like that in business, or maybe you're in that now. This is not to call anyone out or make anyone wrong, but I think it's really helpful to see that this type of action can have you really feel like you're doing a lot, because you are. And that can be very soothing to the ego and can be very soothing to the part of us that doesn't trust ourselves or doesn't feel good enough, right? And really what this is a symptom of is more what's going on mindset-wise, not strategy and action-wise. It is an indication that we need to refine strategy, but usually what's under the hood here is something we want to address on the mindset side of things that's causing us, right, to want to go into massive action, to want us to go into doing all the things, that's wanting us to go out and consume everyone, like, here are the 45 things you need to do to book a client or make money. Let me know if this is tracking there. So this is why I'm, again, very big on, yes, absolutely take action. Absolutely, I think there are times for massive action. I think there can be times to layer strategy on top of what you've already done, so it might seem like you're doing more. We put out a fair amount of content at this point in my business that once I stopped doing all the things we were not doing for a long time, that is not what helped me to get fully booked at the start of my business, right? I actually had to pull back and do less. And I think that's where the concept of massive action can be a little confusing. And again, I think it can either mask or have us feed into some insecurities or some mindset issues we really need to strengthen and actually limit the results we're getting, or can have us just find, I mean, our brain is so sneaky, y'all. Like, it is just so sneaky and so clever. This can also just be another way where like, look at me doing all the things, and look at me still hiding, and look at me still not playing big, and look at me still not selling. So I'll use myself as that example. That's what I did my whole first year in business. And you can still get results from that, but it just tends to be a lot longer, which is why I'm such a big fan of the 1% action that we're going to unpack. And we've got a fun spammer in the group. Oh, that is so fun. Angela, we're gonna have to block you from the group. I don't know if I can do that while I'm live, but you will be blocked and kicked out of the group after this. It happens, y'all. With a group this large, we try to do our best to connect with that. Actually, everyone, while we're live, if you find on your post, if you do have someone spamming your post with anything, please always notify admin. There's a little link you can click on a comment to notify us, and we're pretty quick at catching those and then blocking people from the group. We try to do our best to keep this group as safe for y'all to share and engage as possible, but we can't see all the things. Some people slip through the cracks. So please feel free to do that for us. Shari says I reported her a few seconds ago. Haha. Thank you. Well, no, she will, as soon as I'm offline, we'll make sure that she is kicked out. She's probably a bot, is my guess. Anyway, we will go back to talking about action. So again, not hating on massive action. We're not hating on doing all the things action, but I want us to all be very aware of a lot of times what that kind of action can be masking. And particularly if you're in a phase of business where you are taking massive action, or you feel like you're doing a lot of things and you're not getting the results you want, I think this is a really great place to hit the pause button and to look at what's going on there. How might some of the type of action you're taking actually be a symptom or highlighting some of what's going on for you mindset wise that is really the area to address, that's really the lever to press. The action to take might be more mindset action than anything else. And then instead, one of the reasons I don't love massive action is what I find is massive action also really prevents us from taking the 1% action. Now, 1% action, I'm going to describe this in a couple different ways. It is basically what it sounds like. It's that 1% more than is essentially comfortable, but I don't want you to hear this the wrong way, because I think that can then just sound like massive action. What I really mean is the 1% action is looking for what is that one thing you're a little uncomfortable to do? What is the thing? I always think of it this way. What am I like secretly hoping my coach won't ask me to do, that I hope my coach won't dare me to do, that I hope my mastermind peers won't dare me to do? What am I like, please no one tell me to do this thing, because I secretly know I need to do it? That's probably your 1% action. That's probably the 1% action it's just a little more uncomfortable than what you're already doing. And that is the type of action that will fucking change the game for you in business. And usually this action either takes the exact same amount of time with what you're already doing, takes less time because it's not massive action, or it takes 10 minutes or less. I'm going to give you a bunch of examples here. Kate says, I'm all for those small uncomfortable steps. Amen. Then the small uncomfortable steps are what change the entire trajectory of your business and life. Everything, I always think like everything we want is on the other side of that 1% action, that 1% uncomfortable step. And I want us to understand there's a very, very big difference between the 1% uncomfortable step and the 1 or 10%, the painful step, right? Discomfort, getting a little bit uncomfortable, being willing to take that 1% uncomfortable step. It is when I'm in a spin class and that coach at the front of the class and I'm already on the bike, it's not taking an extra class, it's not hurting myself, but she says, can you increase the resistance a quarter on the bike? That is 1% uncomfortable action, right? That is me I'm already on the bike, I'm already in motion, I can absolutely do that. I'm just really comfortable at the pace I'm going, and I kind of secretly wish no one will push me, but I want to get stronger, I want to expand my lung capacity, I want to get faster. The only way I'm going to do that is if I take that 1% action, right? And so that's when the coach tells me, increase the resistance a quarter, increase the resistance a notch, sprint during this part of the song, right? And of course there's a recovery afterwards, but that's what we're talking about, 1% uncomfortable. It's not push yourself when you're already at your limit to now you hurt yourself. It's not you've already taken this class, I'm using spin class as an example because I'm going there later tonight, so it's on my mind. It's not now take 3 spin classes back to back because that's uncomfortable. That's massive action. That's where we tend to get to burnout. It's 1% action is generally within the action you're already taking, tapping 1% into that discomfort, 1% into the uncomfortable zone, or doing 1% more than you would originally. And what's so beautiful about this is that 1% difference puts you into a very small pool of people, because most people are looking for the 1% more comfortable action, the 1% less effort action, the 1% less scary action, right? The 1% showing up and shrinking back a little bit more action. Most people are looking for that. And our brains are looking for that, right? Our brain's wired to avoid pain, to seek pleasure. Our brain finds safety in comfort and in the familiar. That is why coaching is so valuable. That is why when I go to a spin class, I'm really grateful there's a coach on the bike, and I know I'm gonna work out far differently in that class than when I work out by myself. I'm pretty good at self-coaching in a workout, and even so, I know just having someone outside of me to say, hey, let me just give you a little nudge there to go 1% more, to just increase that resistant 1% more. And those 1%, those incremental shifts add up and compound massively. I always think about, just imagine if every time you were to invest in the stock market, you just added 1% more. Over time, how much more money you would have. That's not from adding a lot more, it's literally 1% more. Just like if you spend 1% more of your budget than what you actually take in all the time, over time, how much that will negatively impact the money you have in your account, right? Like those 1% shifts can be really fascinating to see in how they add up over time. This is like, I think this is an example we've probably all heard, but it's worth hearing. The 1% difference between really hot water and boiling water, right? That 1% difference, that 1% action, right? Having the water go from steaming hot, like right before boiling, to boiling, that 1 degree difference, that 1% action difference is the difference between water hot enough to literally power a locomotive. That's a 1% shift. That's a 1% action difference. It's not even necessarily uncomfortable. I would say it's uncomfortable if we're talking about what happens to lobsters when they're in water and how they don't notice those 1% shifts, right? Because that's the beauty of the 1% action. It is the 1% uncomfortable action I want to encourage everyone here. But what's so beautiful about this is I'm not asking anyone here to go take 20% uncomfortable action. That is when we hurt ourselves. That is when it feels like it stretches us to the point of we want to snap, like go retreat and hide in our bed in our pajamas with like Netflix and chill and a pint of ice cream for the next month because we've just blown our nervous system out of the water, right? That's not really serving for anyone. That's not what we're talking about with sustainable business results. And that's also just not necessary, right? It's the difference between boiling water and more boiling water. Like it's already boiling. We don't need it to be 20 degrees hotter. We just need it to be boiling to cook the lobster or to power the locomotive, right? We're just looking for those 1% more action, the 1% more uncomfortable. And that's, again, what I want to offer everyone here, because I know there's so many high achievers in this group. I know there's so many perfectionists in this group. I know there's so many people who really tend to vacillate between all or nothing. And that's, I think, where the massive action, again, can get us in trouble, because when we tend to go to, but it needs to be 20% uncomfortable. It needs to be all the way to the extreme over here. And I think what we can see is, I don't even know that that's so serving for anyone ever. If I go get so uncomfortable that it's fucking up my nervous system and I can't handle it on a client call, or I'm stressing out, or I can't sleep, none of that is serving to my results. However, if I challenge myself for that 1% uncomfortable action and to get clear on what that is, and maybe that's really thinking about what's the thing I wish people knew that I haven't shared before. Maybe that's being 1% more vulnerable in my content. Maybe that's selling 1% more than I've previously been comfortable. Maybe it's reaching out to that person, that 1% uncomfortable person, right, that I really wanted to collaborate with, or that I wanted to invite into a free call or onto a consultation, right? These are all 1% uncomfortable action steps. We can see how those are going to make massive differences. They would in my business, they would in your business. I today had a client who we challenged around this. And through getting clear on this, we uncovered an opportunity in their business that's going to add on a minimum of 100K revenue to their business without doing any more work, right? But that was from them being willing to get 1% uncomfortable and to take 1% action. It wasn't, okay, now we need to revamp your entire business and you need to go hustle it out. You need to get super uncomfortable and take massive, massive action. It was them being willing to get 1% uncomfortable and find that 1% action shift. I've challenged a client around this, and what came up for her was doing some personal outreach to people in her network. And just from leaning into that 1% uncomfortable action consistently, she has opened up. She's gone from not having any leads and thinking it was impossible to book clients to having so many leads come through the door, so many opportunities come through the door. She's had some really cool speaking opportunities show up for her as well. And I reflect this to you to see, she didn't do anything that was super hard. She didn't spend more time on her strategy than she was previously. This wasn't super painful. This wasn't like now she had to grind it out until 3 a.m. She got and tapped into that 1% uncomfortable action. It took her 10 minutes or less to write an additional email and to put that out into the world. For my client, really what we're talking about, the 100K opportunity, this is really the 1% uncomfortable action. For this client, was really leaning into owning their value and their pricing in a different way. So it's really the uncomfortable action. It's like a 3-second action step in terms of changing their price point, and then a whole lot of mindset action, kind of action on the other side of it. But that's why I want to reflect this to everyone here, because this on the surface can almost seem like not taking more action or not doing more. And I think that's where it can be really confusing, especially in our space, when we hear someone who's like, oh my gosh, it's so easy. I just blew up and made $1 quadrillion in my business and got booked out. I didn't do anything different and it was super, super easy. And no one's saying it that way intentionally to be frustrating or to be annoying, but a lot of times they are like the lobster in the pot of hot water, where it has been these 1% incremental action steps, these 1% incremental uncomfortable action steps, where they're not even really aware that they're sitting in hot water that's gone from hot to boiling, and now suddenly they have the temperature that can power a locomotive, metaphorically speaking, in their business. And so then when they have that pop moment in their business, it's sort of like, well, I don't even know what I did differently. But what they did differently is they kept looking for those opportunities to take that 1% action. I actually have another client who's celebrating 4 consecutive 10K months, and I think she just had a 16K month last month. And it would be really easy for me to sit here and say, we didn't really change, nothing changed in her strategy. And that's true, nothing did change in her strategy, but I know because I've been working with her behind the scenes, it used to feel like it was impossible and really hard for her to book clients. She would tell you, it's really hard for me to book clients. And there were definitely some mindset shifts there. So to paint a very fair picture here, she's done some really big mindset work, but what she's also really leaned into is the 1% action, the 1% uncomfortable action. And some of those 1% uncomfortable actions for her have actually been pulling back on some of the do all the things action, because there's a lot of comfort in that, right? There's, when we're doers and when we have the story that things need to be hard and we find comfort in things being hard. And I know for those of you who don't have that story, that sounds wackadoo, but I know there's a lot of people in this group who have a story with hard work equals results, hard work equals money, hard work equals safety, hard work equals I deserve this, hard work equals I'm allowed to make money, right? When there's a lot of familiarity and safety wrapped around that, the uncomfortable action might actually be to pull back on some of that doing all the things action. Let me know if that's tracking, if that's making sense. And so I want everyone to play with this here and to see that sometimes the 1% action, the 1% uncomfortable action might actually look like doing less. It might actually look like delegating something, taking something off your plate, pulling back on certain things. Stop throwing spaghetti at the wall. Stop doing so many things and to focus in and narrow on a few things. And that can be very, very uncomfortable if you're used to finding comfort in doing all the things, if you're used to finding comfort in working, if you're used to finding comfort in almost like that. You know how sometimes we can do a lot of things as a way to almost protect ourselves from results because we have a bit of a fear of success, right? I think just seeing that's what 1% action can sometimes look like as well, as much as it can look like maybe showing up in a bigger or bolder way or selling in a bigger or bolder way. Let me know if that's tracking for y'all, because I think that distinction can be really important. And as I'm thinking through some clients who I've challenged with the 1% action, as much as I've challenged people to maybe take that 1% uncomfortable action, that's the one thing they're like, please don't tell me to do this, Kim. Like, please, 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 I hope you don't challenge me on this, which is always my favorite thing to challenge people on. It's very fun on my side of things. I don't love it when I'm on the client side of this, but it's very fun when you're on the coach side of that. As much as there's that side of it, there's also sometimes I'm really challenging clients to pull back 1%. And that is still an action step, right? When you're used to exerting and taking action, stepping back, that if we literally think about stepping forward, stepping back, that is an action. If you're so used to leaning forward, leaning back is still an action. I want you to think of it that way, because I think the brain can think of that as not doing anything. Not doing anything is very different, very, very different than leaning back or intentionally focusing in or intentionally, what's the word I'm looking for here? Even the difference between active rest versus not doing anything. I'm going to use working out as an example here. If I'm in a spin class and let's say I've been overdoing it and that's what's preventing me from getting stronger. Anyone who works out knows if you overwork, if you work out too hard and you don't rest enough and you don't take care of your body well, right? Your muscle doesn't have a chance to grow. It needs time to rest, essentially, to be able to grow. We have to feed it properly to have that muscle get strengthened. And I don't know all the science on this, but general concept here, without going too much into this example, right? And so if what's preventing me from getting stronger when I work out is that I'm overworking out, I'm not actively resting enough, right? My 1% uncomfortable action might actually look like active rest. Now, active rest usually doesn't mean just stop doing anything completely. It usually means go for a walk, do something lighter, right? Find a way to still move my body so that it can continue to be moving, but not push and force and exert so much that I'm really preventing the growth that's necessary for my muscles. The same is true in business, which is why, again, I'm not hating on massive action. There's absolutely a time for that. If you're in a launch mode, right? There are times where a little bit of that healthy hustle can be very beneficial, but for so many people, massive action gets confused for kind of what happens in working out, which is over exerting, over the pushing, and the kind of action that can actually stall results. And so this is where then the 1% uncomfortable action might look more like that active rest or look like stepping back. And I want your brain to see that is still an action, especially if we're talking about 1% action, which is really what is the uncomfortable action step for you. For you, stepping back might be uncomfortable. For you, allowing slow to be fast might be uncomfortable. So for someone else, leaning in might be uncomfortable, right? And that's where you can see whatever that uncomfortable action is, that's your beacon. That's the place we want you to lean into. Kate says, I'm such a doer, and yes, a big fear of success. Kate, thank you for sharing that. I'm so with you. I'm wired. I think we're wired very similarly from what I know of you, and same, and I think this is so common for people in this group. I think and then I want to read Shari's comment. I think this is what's also really nice for everyone to hear. Kate's an incredible coach. She's super successful. I've got a lot of success. I think I'm a great coach, right? We can have a pattern of being doers and have a fear of success and still find a healthy way to do and create success. And I reflect this to everyone here because I think sometimes we identify our so-called blocks and the things, and I think if you're newer to business, this can then feel like, well, now I can't have the thing I want in business, or now I have to wait until I, like, in air quotes, fix the thing or cure the thing to be able to make money, to book a client, to create results. And that's simply not true. What I have found to be true at every single stage of business, whether it's making my first $1,000 a month or first $10,000 a month or $30,000 a month, is these patterns tend to follow us. I always say it's not new level, new devil, it's new level, same devil, right? Our patterns tend to follow us. We just get better and better at catching them, at navigating them, at not letting them get us in our own way. But I want everyone to hear that so that no one is hearing like, oh my gosh, yes, I find I do some of these things. That means I can't have what I want, as opposed to, no, you can have exactly what you want. And now when you can identify these things, it's that much easier to not let those things get you in your own way or stop you from having the things you want on a grander scale, on a bigger level. Shari says, yes, I like hearing these examples. Can you maybe give an example of what your 1% might have looked like in the early days and what the 1% edge looks like now, action-wise, being fully booked? Yes. Okay, let me think. Action, my 1% might have looked like in the early days. So a couple things. I think honestly, one of my 1% uncomfortable actions in the early days was allowing myself to pull back. So when I started my business, I literally was doing everything. Like every platform you could be on, I literally was on Pinterest and Instagram and Facebook, and I thought I needed to learn Facebook ads. And I'm trying to think. I had a podcast. I know I do now, but now it made sense for me to layer it on. I was podcasting. I was going live. I was writing a blog. I was doing all of these things without a team and really spread thin because of it. So one of my 1% uncomfortable action was actually getting really clear on what were the very few things I was going to do to move forward and stopping some of those things. I stopped the podcast. I had it was like my first year and a half in business, but I actually stopped it and made myself the promise I wouldn't bring it back on until I was in a place in business where I could bring on and pay for team support and it made sense to layer on. But I actually had to basically force myself to stop a lot of things so I could just take action on the very few things I was deciding would move me forward. So it was a little bit of that 1% uncomfortable step back action we're talking about. And for those of you who aren't doers, that'll sound like, oh, that sounds amazing. That's for those of you who are doers, you will all resonate with this. That can feel very, very uncomfortable in the system, especially when I had some traction from everything. So you start to really quit where it's like, but all of these things are working. I don't want to leave money on the table, especially when the online space is telling you that. So that was one of mine. The other, I'm going to give you two more examples for the other 1% action. The other 1% action, I would say big time for me, was active sales actions. So I love selling now. I teach selling now. I encourage my clients around it. I have a whole philosophy around it. I think I'm really fucking good at it. I was petrified to sell. The reason I think I love it and I'm so great at teaching and coaching clients around it is because I was so scared and resisted it so much at the start. So, and actively owning my work and taking up space that way, that was a 1% action. And then actively asking for a sale publicly I would say that was more than a 1% uncomfortable action, but so much discomfort there for me. So those were, they didn't look like, if anything, it looked like me doing less. I was actively pulling way back on the things I was doing, but within those actions, I was taking those 1% uncomfortable action steps, which was being willing to own I'm good at what I do, being willing to own my expertise, being willing to own my results. I helped a client scale to $1 million in my first year of business, and I was terrified to. So funny to share now because I share so much, but I was really, really scared to share that in content, and all of these stories around that and all of this baggage around that, right? So those were the 1% uncomfortable action steps for me at the start. Even honestly posting in other Facebook groups, that was another 1% action step where it would have looked like on the surface like I was doing less because I pared back so much, but it was leaning into the strategy that was working for me and taking that 1% uncomfortable action step. So those were some of the action steps that they were as I leaned into those, the discomfort 1% at a time, right? It was like, first I got comfortable owning my work a little bit more. Then the next 1% uncomfortable step was selling a free call, right? I incrementally ratcheted that up, but that made a huge difference. And I would say those, obviously some of the specific things I was doing, the mindset work behind it, but those definitely supported me in getting fully booked. Shari says, yes, I hear potency from these early days 1% actions. Yes. Such a good word. It's exactly that. And I think hopefully for everyone hearing this, that's helpful to hear, because I think what you can see here is, again, if you're looking from the outside in, it looks like I'm doing less. It looks like I'm working less. It looks like the opposite of massive action, or massive action in air quotes. It looks like the opposite of doing all the things. It's paring down, right? It's working smarter, not harder. But it's not really working smarter, not harder. It is that, but it's everything we're talking about here. I love the word potency. Shari, that's exactly what it is. It's within the action you're already taking. What is that 1% uncomfortable action step you can lean into or lean back out of? Hey, Julia, nice to see you here. Okay, and the 1% edge looks like now action-wise being fully booked. Okay, let me think. What is the 1% action now, the uncomfortable action? I feel like there's always new edges that are uncomfortable. Okay, so there's a couple that come to mind. Y'all, some of these I feel like I would have hated me 5 years ago or 6.5 years ago for saying, but I'm just gonna answer this as transparently as I can. So I understand if some of these sound eye rolly, but they're the truth. So that's what we're gonna go with. One of the 1% uncomfortable action steps for me now, I guess this isn't that dissimilar from what I was sharing at the beginning, but it is really leaning into how honestly good things are and feel in my personal life and in my business, and then sharing that. And I don't know that everyone needs to know all the details, but that is a wildly uncomfortable 1% edge for me. I honestly wouldn't share those things if I didn't think it was an uncomfortable edge and beneficial for people to hear as evidence and as an example, and for all the marketing reasons as well. But I think really just to be an example of that. But that is, I mean, you probably even hear it in my voice as I'm sharing this. I'm like, it like makes me sweat a little bit. So that is definitely a 1% uncomfortable edge for me. I had another one that just came to mind. Let me think if I can just remember it. 1%. So some other 1% edges that are uncomfortable action steps that come up for me, definitely stuff around team. So not just I think I'd say maybe a year and a half ago, it might have been certain investments in my team. Even though my business brings in consistent money, as my team grows, you're suddenly more and more responsible for, like, you just start to see what each month of business kind of costs you to run, and that was definitely an edge for me to lean into. What I find now is it's everything we talked about with Katrina. I don't know if anyone caught last week's live stream where we were talking about that growth edge around asking for support. I'd say that is probably the 1% uncomfortable action step for me now at this stage in business and being fully booked. It's really leaning into and stretching my capacity to ask for and receive support with team, from coaching. That I would say that's a really big one. If another, I'm sure there's like more that'll come to mind, but those are the two that come to mind the most. So also not that dissimilar from what they were at the start. They're just kind of like showing up they're like wearing different clothes at this stage than they were earlier. Shari, let me know if that makes sense or if you have follow-up questions. Let's see. Kate says, I'm nodding my head along, agreeing with everything, especially posting other Facebook groups. I would love to hear, no one has to out themselves, but I wonder how many people have had that fear and the uncomfortable action step around, or the edge around posting other Facebook groups. I think that's a really common one. I think it's just great to normalize. It will say, if you're in this group, you are welcome to post. I want you to post. That's literally why I created this group. Kate, I think you've been in my group since I started. You probably remember there were 13 people here. I was like, I just want a place for like-minded people to collaborate and share. So hopefully that'll give everyone some of the fear, discomfort around that. But I think that's a pretty common one. Shari says, yes, I hear it. But I think that speaks to the truth of that being the edge, and so normalizing to hear how edges shift and evolve. Thank you for sharing these. So my pleasure. And yes, I'm sure you could hear it in my voice. And absolutely happy to normalize. And I think, I hope for everyone here, something I always hope to do my best to be an example of. I mean, there's only so much we can share in live streams every week, and we've got a screen between us all. But I hope to normalize certain things and for everyone to see, like, I was journaling about this today, that like, here isn't better than there isn't better than here. We're not suddenly like more healed, or like when we move through edges, like, and then there's never another edge. We're always in a continual evolution and journey. And I find what I found with growth in business is I almost just like, the difference is I now see it as exciting and normal, and it doesn't stress my system out. Where I'm now when I notice, like, oh, like, I'm resisting asking for support in this way. Isn't that, this is fascinating. And I think it's more that mindset I have now. I'm like, let me bring this to my coach and be like, what's coming up here, and how, like, this is just so, my brain, I just almost like have more of an observer perspective where I'm like, my brain, this is so fascinating. How do I work through this? Like, almost this is exciting because I know the 1% action, what we're talking about here, on the other side of it is growth. So I think that's the only big difference from before, where it probably was just like, oh my God, there's something wrong with me. But I hope everyone listening hears this, where it's like this is a never ending, ongoing journey. And isn't that exciting, is the way I like to think about it. I always think about it, like, if we think about literally as growth edges, it's like if we keep finding that new edge and expanding past it, we're literally expanding our capacity to have and to hold and to receive good stuff and joy, and we're expanding our comfort zone, right? So what like usually starts here as a comfort zone, the more we're working those edges, just the more we expand that. So I hope, always happy to answer questions, but I hope that comes across for everyone, or something people could take. Maria says, one of the things I've have seen you do is change the time of this live to include a broader group of people. Whereas originally you seemed to be more of the idea that you had US clients, now Europeans can participate. I honestly, when we started this live stream at 6 p.m., I've been doing the same time since I've started this group. I think I still honestly had my 9 to 5, which is why we originally chose that time frame. And I was doing it at the end of a shorter work day. And at a certain point, I realized, wait, I've been doing the same time for years and I don't have that reasoning anymore. And it does, I think, prevent like Kate's in the UK, like it prevents people in Europe to join. So that's definitely why we changed it. But the time originally picked was a lot more arbitrary and more just working around the day job. So yes, you are totally correct on that. Okay, let me know if people have questions. I'm gonna pull up my notes here because I got off on a little bit of a tangent, and I'm happy to answer more questions if anyone has them. But I want to make sure I didn't have anything else that I wanted to share about the 1% action. Let me see here. Does anybody else do this? Does anybody else write notes and then you realize you don't actually read your notes? Then when you go to reflect them, you're like, where the heck am I in them? But let me see here. I think we shared all of this. We talked about people hiding in the action results, or in the massive action. I feel like I had one more thing I wanted to share. Oh yes, I did have the mindset piece. This was the one other piece I wanted to share. So one of the last thing I wanted to share with everyone is, what I find is when you play with this idea of 1% uncomfortable action, one of the, Shari says yes, LOL. It's so funny. It's good for us to do the notes anyway. I'm glad you feel me on this. With the 1% uncomfortable action, the 1% action we're talking about, one of them, I call this the win under the win. It's whenever I'm celebrating with clients, I always like to look at what's the mindset under it, or what's the win under the surface level win. So the win is taking that 1% uncomfortable action. That is directly linked to all the results you want in your business and life. Like literally, if you think about meeting my husband, I only met him because I took 1% uncomfortable action after 1% uncomfortable action to put myself on dating apps and go on dates and all of those things, right? Like kind of everything we want in life is on the other side of that 1% uncomfortable action. It was not massive action though, right? I didn't need to be a psycho and like stalk my now husband. I just needed to take the 1% uncomfortable action. And one of the wins under the wins, one of the things I find when you start leaning into this that is really, really powerful for you as a human, but also as a business owner, is I find when you feel like you're struggling in business, when you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm doing all the things, I'm not getting the results, nothing is working, right? This really has us give our power away in business, and it really can have us fall into a bit of a victim mentality where it just sort of feels like nothing's in our control, everything's happening to us, it's easier for everyone else, they have it easier than us, nothing's working, right? That can really spin us out and be very disempowering, and it's really not serving for us as business owners. When we start looking at what is that 1% uncomfortable action I can take, what this has you do is really shift out of feeling like a victim and being in that mindset that does have you just give your power away to everything in the online space, is where it tends to go, I feel like, these days in 2022, right? And take that power back and really take your personal responsibility back, and not in a way where you're making yourself wrong, right? I think that's where some of the massive action, when it's coming from the place of I'm not getting results, things aren't working, I think it can still just be like, I'm wrong and now I'm punishing myself and I need to go overexert. Right? That's still not a healthy place to take action from. But if we're instead looking at, I'm not getting the results I want, what's the 1% uncomfortable action I can take? That's a much healthier way to take your power back, to kind of get out of that, like, whoa, like nothing's working, everything's out of my control, and to get back to, wait, I have control over my results. I can always lean into 1% uncomfortable action, right? I can take my power back. This is where my locus of control is. This is something I do have control over. I find that to be a very powerful mindset shift, and then a very powerful energy shift that fuels your 1% action. Because we talked about this probably on the podcast before, but I'm a big believer, it's not just the action you take, but the mindset and energy that fuels that action, right? So if you're taking 1% action from the mindset and energy of like, this is never gonna work, I'm just doing this because so-and-so told me to, or Kim said to on the live stream, or because I have to, or because I'm not good enough, or if we use the spin class as an example, because I am fat, or I need to make someone else in the class think I'm really good, right? That mindset and energy is going to affect the way you actually show up in the action. And then what happens long-term in terms of the result from that action, but also if you keep showing up for it, versus if it's coming from the mindset of, wait, I get to take my power back. What is the, like, I'm going to challenge myself here. What is that 1% thing that just feels, oh, it feels a little uncomfortable, but I know that's my beacon. I know that's sort of the light that's shining the path for what I want to do next. This is how I get stronger. This is how I get faster. This is how I get bigger results. This is how I can love myself, but also still show up and stretch that comfort zone, stretch that capacity to have, hold, receive great results, right? That's such a way, that's so much more empowering. And I think that's such a healthier way to relate to the action we're taking, but also to relate to our businesses. And so I think that's the piece I wanted to close here for everyone. The piece I really want to invite everyone to think about as you're taking, yes, 1% action, but any action in your business, look at where you can shift out of some of those places. Maybe you're giving your power away. Take back that power, take back that personal responsibility, take back that locus of control, and really use that to fuel your action, because that's going to, again, give you such a healthier relationship with your action and with your business. Kate says yes all the time. Write notes and then go off on a tangent. So funny. Every live, every podcast, I'm always very pleased when I get off the live streams. I'm like, we actually talked about what was in the live stream notes. So I think today we actually got there. But yes, I'm glad I'm not the only one here. That is how our creative brains work. All right, y'all, that is everything I want to share with you in terms of 1% action. Again, really want to encourage everyone here to take a look at where in your business is there an opportunity for you to lean into that 1% uncomfortable action. A really great place to play with this is just to think, where do I kind of secretly wish no one would dare me to do something? If someone were going to dare me to do something, if you're self-coaching, right? Where would you challenge someone else to show up? That's really going to be the kind of the lever, the place you can play with. And also notice where you might have an unhealthier relationship with the action you're taking in your business. We talked a lot about the massive action, the doing all the things action, and how there can be benefits to that. There can be times that's very serving your business, but how we can also show up in an unhealthy relationship with our action in those. So just notice those. Again, this isn't a place to make yourself wrong. It's not a place to have the pendulum swing where it's like, I did massive action, now I do no action. It's just a place to get really curious and to see what's going on there. Because when we have an unhealthy relationship with our action or anything, mindset-wise or in our business, there's usually something under the hood there. And this is where self-coaching or reaching out to your coach, reaching out to your mastermind, your support, your peer group, right? This is a place where it usually is helpful to just get a little clarity there and to do some of the work to start to shift this. You can still get results in the meantime, but that's usually going to give you a little bit of an indication on where those opportunities are for you. So play with that, reach out. I always love to know, like, comments here, or you can always DM me. I love to know how these land for you. And then a reminder, if you left a comment now or when you're watching the replay, we'll pick winners at the end of the week for the free giveaway for Get Unstuck and Unlock Your Success, the self-study mindset course we have. And then if you would like to join us for our free masterclass, that's in 2 weeks. It is Podcasting That Pays Off, lessons, takeaways, and what is it? I don't even know the title. Takeaways, secrets, lessons from 100 podcasting episodes. The title is something like that. I don't remember the title of my masterclass, but I have a lot I really want to share with you. This, whether you have a podcast or not, as a recap on that. This is not podcasting specific. I'm going to use the podcast as a celebration. We've had 100 episodes, but I'm going to use that as a lens because we have been so consistent with that, and that's really done well to convert for us in my business, to share some overall marketing lessons and strategies with y'all, whether you want a podcast or you're going to use this with a different form of marketing. So I hope you will join that for me. It is kimmargetsinger.com/podcasting-pays. Kate says, thank you so much. Could listen to you for hours. I love you. Thank you. That just made my day. All right, I'm gonna go hop off and cry now because y'all know I cry over everything. And I will see you all next week. Lots of love, y'all. Bye.